Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. Today we start our third lecture of Business Math 1. First we will review what we have done in our last two lectures. In our last lecture we have studied inequalities, their definition, particularly the strict inequalities, in which we have studied absolute inequality, conditional inequality and double inequality. Then we have studied real line representation. Further we have studied non-strict inequalities, that is the inequalities in which we have equal to sign. Okay, then we come to see the definition of an interval. What do we mean by an interval? What is an interval notation? And the different types of intervals. In our last lecture we have studied 4 types of intervals, that is open interval, closed interval and 2 types of half open intervals. We have also seen in our last lecture the geometrical representation of an interval, that is how we can represent our interval on our real line system. Using all these techniques we see that how we can solve our inequalities. For this, first we studied some rules, that is under addition or multiplication by a positive number or division or replacing the inequality by the same value, what we obtain, does the sign of the inequality has the same sense or the reverse sense. There were 6 rules which we have studied in our last lecture. Then using all these rules and the previous knowledge of inequalities and interval notation, we studied how we can solve the inequalities of first degree, that is linear inequalities, and the inequalities of second degree. We further saw that what do we mean by the solution set of an inequality, both in both cases, first degree and in second degree. So we start our today's lecture. In today's lecture we will cover main topics, that is the absolute value and its relationships. What do we mean by an absolute value? Its definition, some properties of the absolute value. If we have an equation or an inequality which contains the absolute value, how we can solve such an equation or an inequality. Further we will study the rectangular coordinate system. In rectangular coordinate system mainly we will study Cartesian plane, midpoint formula and distance formula. Okay, so we start our today's lecture with the definition of absolute value. The absolute value of a number x is its distance from 0 on the real line and is denoted by vertical bar, the number x, and again the vertical bar. So absolute value basically tells us the distance of a number from the 0. For example, if x is equals to 3, then the distance of this 3 from the real line or from number 0 will be equals to vertical bar x, vertical bar is equals to mod of 3, which is again 3. Now how do we represent the absolute value by these vertical lines, single vertical line on the left side and single vertical line on the right side. Okay, if we have this number x is equals to 3, how we can represent this number geometrically, or how we can use our real line system to represent this number x and the absolute value of this number, that is the distance of this number x on the real line. Then for this, first we draw our real line. We have this point 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on. Similarly on the left side, -1, -2, -3, -4 and so on. Now the number x is equals to 3, which means that its distance from 0 from this number will be, distance is equals to 3, and this portion represents the absolute value of 3. That is, this portion is 3 units, that is, this number x has a distance 3 units from the origin 0. But we also see that the distance in this case of the number minus 3 from 0 is also 3, that is absolute value of minus 3. Okay, in the second example, if x is equals to minus 3, then mod of x will be mod of minus 3, which is minus of that number which is 3. जैसे कि हमने देखा कि अगर हमारे पास कोई नंबर माइनस 3 है तो उसका 0 से डिस्टेंस कितना है, 3 यूनिट्स. इट हैज़ अ डिस्टेंस 3 यूनिट्स फ्रॉम 0. So the absolute value of this number minus 3 will be equals to minus of that number which is 3 if the number is negative. Okay, what do we have observed from our last example? That absolute value of a number is always greater than or equals to 0, means that the distance of a number from 0 is always positive or equal to 0 whenever the number is 0. It is clear that when the number is 0, its distance from 0 will be 0. As we can see from our real line that if the number is 0, definitely its distance will be 0 units from 0. Okay, since this absolute denotes the distance, it is always positive. If the number is positive, that is on the right side of 0, then the absolute value of that number or the distance of the number from 0 is simply that number. If the number is negative, that is on the left side of 0, then absolute value or distance of this number from 0 is minus times that number, which makes it positive. So using all these observations, we formally define the absolute value as the absolute value of a number x written as vertical bar x, vertical bar again, x between vertical bars is defined as absolute value is, which is x whenever x is positive or equals to 0, and minus x whenever x is negative. For example, if we have x is equals to minus 1 by 2, since x can be any number, any real number, so if x is equals to minus 1 by 2, then mod of x will be equals to minus 1 by 2 mod, which is, since x is negative, so according to definition we multiply the minus sign with the number minus 1 by 2, which is 1 by 2. That is, whenever x is equals to minus half, it is half units, its absolute value is half units from 0. Now we will see some properties of absolute value. First property is that absolute value of a number is always positive or equals to 0. It is clear that distance is always positive or equals to 0. For example, if x is equals to minus 5, then its absolute value will be equals to 5, which is greater than 0. If the number is 0, then its absolute value will be 0, which is equals to 0. Now second property says that the absolute value of the number is same as absolute value of its negative number. That is, mod of minus x is equals to mod of x, which means that the distance of the point either from the left side or from the right side from 0 is same. For example, if x is equals to minus 4, then absolute value of minus 4 will be equals to minus of minus 4, which is equals to 4, and considering the right hand side of the equality, the absolute value of 4, since x is positive, its absolute value is 4. Now the third property says that if we have two numbers x and y, then their distance is that is absolute value of x minus y, is same as absolute value of y minus x. That is, distance between 2 points does not matter, the distance from point A to B or from point B to A. For example, if we have two numbers 12 and minus 12 and 7, then absolute value of 12 minus 7, that is the distance between these two numbers, will be equals to 5 units from 0. Now considering at the right side of the equality, which is 7 minus 12, which is minus 5, since it is negative, by considering the absolute value we multiply it with the minus sign and we again get the answer 5. So distance from point A to B, or x, y, is same as distance from y to x. Okay. Now fourth property says that if we have two numbers in a product x and y and we want to find the absolute value of this product, then we can take the absolute value of the product AB or BA, or absolute value of the product is same as product of the absolutes. That is, mod of xy is equals to mod of x into mod of y, when we want to say it mathematically. For example, if x is 3 and y is minus 5, then solving this we obtain that this is equals to absolute value of 3 into absolute value of minus 5, which is 3 into minus of minus 5, which is equals to 3 into 5 is 15, and by calculating the absolute value of yx, we have absolute value of minus 5 into 3, which is equals to 15 absolute value, which is again 15. Okay. Fifth property says that if we have two numbers with some ratio x over y and we want to take their absolute value, then absolute value of the ratio is same as ratio of the absolute values. That is, mathematically, mod of x over y is same as mod of x over mod of y. For example, if we want to find the absolute value of minus 10 over 3, then this is same as absolute value of minus 10 over absolute value of 3. Okay. Sixth property says that the number is always less than equals to its absolute value, that is, number is always less than equals to its distance from origin, and negative of absolute value is less than equals to that number. Here we have seen that we have used the double inequality, double non-strict inequality here. That is, minus mod of x is less than equals to x, which is less than equals to mod of x. For example, if x is equals to 2, then minus mod of 2 is minus 2, which is less than equals to 2, which is again less than equals to mod of 2, which is 2. Minus Okay. We start with our basic example, that is when mod of x is equals to 4. Then using the definition of absolute value, that is the distance of some number is 4 units, then the number can be equals to 4 units on the right side from 0 or 4 units on the left side from 0. So x must be equal to either 4 or minus 4. So the solution of this absolute value equation is x is equals to plus minus 4. That is when x is on the right side of origin, or when x is on the right side of 0, x is equals to 4 units away from 0, and when x is on the left side from 0, x is equals to minus 4 units away from 0. Consider a second example. When mod of x minus 5 is equals to 2, then Again, using the definition of absolute value, either x minus 5 is 2 units on the right from 0 or 2 units from the left of 0. That is, mathematically x minus 5 is equals to plus minus 2. This gives us two equations, that is when x minus 5 is equals to 2 or x minus 5 is equals to minus 2. Now we will solve these equations separately as we have done in our first lecture. For the first one, x minus 5 is equals to 2, we will add 5 on both sides, and what we get, x is equals to 7. For the second one, we will do the same, that is we will add 5 on both sides. So what we get, x is equals to 3. So the points or values of x which satisfy this absolute value equation are x is equals to 7 and x is equals to 3. We can verify these two values by simply putting these values in our absolute value equation. That is, when x is equals to 7, we get absolute of 7 minus 5 is equals to 2. We are getting the left hand side equals to right hand side. When x is equals to 3, then putting it in our given equality, we obtain absolute value of 3 minus 5, which is absolute value of minus 2, which is minus of minus 2 is 2. So again we are getting left hand side equals to right hand side. Okay. Now we have our example, mod of x minus 4 is equals to minus 3. That is, we have a distance of some value x minus 4 which is equals to minus 3. If we recall our definition of absolute value, it is basically the distance from 0, and distance is always positive according to our observation and the first property of absolute value. Then the distance of some number x minus 4 cannot be equals to minus 3, cannot be negative. So the solution of this type of equality containing absolute value will be, the absolute value of a number is never negative, so the solution set is the empty set. And we all know what do we mean by an empty set, that is this set, or these brackets without any element inside. Okay, let's have a look at another example. Here we have absolute value of 10 minus 2x is equals to absolute value of x plus 5. We have an equation with absolute value on both sides of the equation. So this seems a bit tricky. How we can solve this equation? Now, since 10 minus 2x and x plus 5 are of same absolute value, that is their absolutes are equal, that is their distance from 0 are equal, so they are either equal to or of opposite sign, which gives us mathematically that 10 minus 2x will be equals to plus minus of x plus 5. Okay, so we have two equations. First one is 10 minus 2x is equals to x plus 5, and second one is 10 minus 2x is equals to minus into x plus 5. So we will use the techniques of lecture 1 to solve these two equations. Is equals to x plus 2x plus 5. Simplifying, we obtain 10 on our left side and 3x plus 5 on our right side. Next, what we will do, we will subtract 5 from both sides, that is 10 minus 5 is equals to 3x plus 5 minus 5. We get 5 on our left side and 3x on right side. So what we get, x is equals to 5 by 3. Okay. Now if we want to, now we will solve the second part, that is 10 minus 2x is equals to minus into x plus 5. What we get, 10 minus 2x is equals to minus x minus 5, and then adding 2x on both sides, we get 10 on the left side. On the right side we get 2x minus x minus 5. 10 is equals to x minus 5. Now adding 5 on both sides, we get 15 is equals to x. So the values of x are 15 and 5 by 3, which satisfy this absolute value equality. So absolute of 10 minus 2 x is equals to absolute value of x plus 5. Now if x is equals to 15, what we get, 10 minus 2 into 15, and the right side will be 15 plus 5 absolute value. We get 10 minus 30, which is minus 20 absolute, which is equals to 20. And from this side we obtain absolute of 20, which is 20. So x is equals to 15 satisfy our absolute value equality. When x is equals to 5 by 3, doing the same thing as with x is equals to 15, that is putting the value in our equality, we obtain 10 minus 2 into 5 by 3 absolute, and right hand side should be equals to absolute of 2 by 3 plus 5. Now solving the left side, we obtain 30 minus 10 over 3, and solving the right side we obtain 2 plus 15. This is 5 by 3, which was written by mistake. Here we have 5 plus 15 by 3. Left side we obtain minus 20 by 3 absolute, and right side we obtain 20 by 3 absolute, which is absolute of 20 over mod of 3 using the property, and this is equals to absolute of minus 20 over mod of 3, which is again 20 over 3. So the value of x is equals to 5 by 3 also satisfy our equation. And we have seen that while verifying or checking the values of x, we have used the divisibility property of absolute value and the second property. So now we have seen from 4 examples that how we can solve our absolute value equations. In the first case we have considered a very simple case, then a bit something added on the both sides with x, and in the fourth case we have seen that basically we obtain in the end two equations which we have to solve to find the values of x which satisfy this equation. Okay, now before going to the inequalities of absolute value, what we have observed in our examples, that whenever we remove this absolute value sign, these vertical bars, we introduce the plus minus sign on the other side of the equation. In first example, okay, in the second example we have removed this absolute value and we have introduced this plus minus sign on the other side of the equation, here plus minus 2, and from here we obtain two possibilities, two equations to find the values of x. In third example, it contradicts the definition of absolute value, so no chance of removing this absolute sign. In fourth example, here we have removed the sign absolute value and we have put the plus minus sign in front of the right side of the equation. Okay, this was a small tip to see how we can solve the absolute value equalities. Now we come to our next section, that is whenever our inequality has the absolute value signs. Okay, we will start directly with the examples. First we have a very basic example, that is when mod of x is less than 4. Now since mod of x again by definition denotes the distance of x from 0 and it is less than 4, strictly less than, which means that the distance is 4 units from 0, less than, which means that the distance is 4 units less than from 0. And how we can see this from the real number line, that is we have our real number line like this with 0 in the middle, 1, 2, 3 and 4, so on the right side. On the left side minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4. Okay, now the absolute value is less than 4, which means that this portion represents when distance is 4 and this portion represents also when distance is 4. Now the absolute value less than 4 means that the distance 4 units less from both sides of the 0, that is from the right side and from the left side. So which says that the number x must lie between minus 4 and 4, that is minus 4 is less than x is less than 4. So the values of x which satisfy the above inequality is an interval actually. In the case of equalities or in the case of equations, we obtain certain points which satisfy the equation. But in the case of inequalities, we are obtaining an interval which satisfy this inequality. And here we can see that we have a double inequality with strict inequalities on both sides. So the interval will be open interval, so round bracket, minus 4 and again 4 with round bracket from the right side. So this interval, basically all these values of x between minus 4 and 4 satisfy this inequality. Clearly if x is equals to 1, then mod of 1 is less than 4. If x is equals to, let's say, 3.99, then the distance of 3.99 is always less than 4. So the first thing we have observed from this example is that whenever we want to solve absolute value inequalities, we obtain an interval as a solution set. But if we solve absolute value equalities, we obtain certain points which satisfy the equation. Okay, now consider a second example, that is absolute value of x is greater than equals to 2. Here we have non-strict inequality and the distance of some number is at least greater than 2 or at least 2 units away from 0. So what we have actually, as when we remove this vertical bars or absolute value sign, we obtain that plus minus x is greater than equals to 2. From this we obtain two possibilities, that either x is greater than 2 or minus x is greater than 2. Okay. Now if we want to solve this second possibility, minus x is greater than 2, we will multiply minus 1 on both sides, and as we have seen in our last lecture, that when we multiply the inequality by a negative number, it reverses its sense, so we obtain x is less than equals to minus 2. So what will be the solution of this inequality, or the interval, or the values of x which satisfy this inequality? Again, we consider our real line. Here we have 0, 1, 2, minus 1, minus 2 on the left side. Then the first possibility says that x is greater than or equals to 2, that is all the values of x including 2, because we have greater than equals to. So all these values of x greater than equals to 2. The second possibility says that x is less than equals to minus 2, that is including minus 2 and all these values. So here we have our solution in the form of two intervals, that is the union of two intervals. When x is greater than equals to 2, we have square bracket 2 up to infinity, because here we have a sign greater than equals to and tending towards the positive side. The second possibility says that x is less than equals to minus 2, so minus infinity not included and minus 2 included with the square bracket. The solution of this inequality is the union of these two intervals, that is all values between minus 2 and 2 are not included in this solution. So the values of x satisfying the inequality are minus x is less than equals to minus 2 and x is greater than equals to 2, that is the open end, that is the half open interval minus infinity to minus 2 union half open interval 2 to infinity with end points included minus 2 and 2. Okay. Consider another example. When we have absolute of x minus 2 is less than 4, so we want to find the values of x such that x minus 2 is strictly less than 4 units from 0. So what do we obtain? The two possibilities, that minus 4 is less than x minus 2 is less than 4. Here we have a double inequality. Now we can solve our double inequality. How? That first we will isolate the variable and add 2 on both sides, that is minus 4 plus 2 is less than x minus 2 plus 2 is less than 4 plus 2, and what do we obtain? That is minus 2 is less than x is less than 6. So how we have obtained this first relation, minus 4 is less than x minus 2 is less than 4? We say that plus minus of x minus 2 is less than 4, that is x minus 2 is less than 4 this side, and minus of x minus 2 is less than 4. Multiplying by the minus sign, minus 1, we obtain x minus 2 is greater than minus 4, or minus 4 is less than x minus 2, that is this side. Okay. So what do we mean by the solution of this inequality on the real line? Have 0, 1 2 3 4 5 6. On the right side, on the left side, -1, -2, -3, and so on. Now x strictly lies between -2 and 6, that is open from -2 and open from 6, all values in between -2 and 6. So the interval of solution or the values of x which satisfy this inequality will be, here we have inequality, so open interval, round bracket, and again we have inequality, so 6, round bracket. So the solution of this interval is, so the solution of this inequality is the open interval -2 to 6. Okay, now we have another example, that is mod of x minus 4 is greater than 6. By using the same technique as in previous example, we obtain two possibilities, that is x minus 4 is greater than 6 or minus of x minus 4 is greater than 6. Solving the first one, we obtain, that is adding 4 on both sides, we obtain x is greater than 10. Now for the second one, we have to do a little bit more work, that is we multiply by -1, which reverses the sign of the inequality, that is x minus 4 is less than -6. And now solving this, we obtain x is less than -2. Okay, we have a very big real line, 0, -1, -2, and going up to 10 on the right side. So x is greater than 10 means all these values going up to plus infinity, and x is less than -2, so all these values going up to minus infinity. So in this case, our interval of solution is the union of two intervals, that is the union of two intervals, that is minus infinity, -2, round bracket means not included, union 10 up to infinity. So all these points between -2 and 10 are not a solution of this inequality. Let's come to our next topic, which is rectangular coordinate system. Okay, what do we mean by a rectangular coordinate system? Something to do with the rectangles maybe. Okay, throughout we will use the visual model in the form of graphical representation to understand the mathematical concepts. So for this we need to discuss the rectangular coordinate system. In order to define rectangular coordinate system, first we define few terms. First we have a Cartesian plane. What do we mean by a Cartesian plane? Plane means something two dimension. And what do we mean by a Cartesian plane? That is, we consider a plane onto which are drawn a horizontal line and a vertical line. And these two lines are real number lines which intersect at their respective 0 points. Okay. The horizontal line is called the horizontal axis. That is, what do we mean by a Cartesian plane? We have a horizontal line which is a real number line, and we have a vertical line. This is also a real number line, and they intersect at their respective zeros. So it is the 0 of our horizontal line and the 0 of our vertical line. So the horizontal line has a particular name as the horizontal axis, this one, and the vertical line has also a name as the vertical axis, or commonly y-axis. So this is our y-axis and this is our x-axis. Okay, now what information more we have? The two axes together is referred to as coordinate axis. So these two axes, let's say 5, 10, 15, since it is a real number line, we have positive on the right side, negative on the left side, and y-axis is also a real number line, so we have positive values. This is 10, this is 15, upwards, and negative values downwards. And all together, such kind of two lines which intersect at their respective zeros is known as coordinate axis, where the horizontal line is x-axis and the vertical line is y-axis. Okay, so the plane containing the coordinate axis is called a Cartesian plane or coordinate plane. So Cartesian plane is nothing but two lines intersecting at their respective zero, with the horizontal line is known as x-axis and vertical line known as y-axis. If we have a point on our coordinate plane or Cartesian plane, then it must have some value on the x-axis and some value on the y-axis. So the location of a point is specified by the ordered pair of values x and y. X and y is written as open interval if we want to recognize. Now the first number x is known as abscissa or the x-coordinate, that is the point representing the x-axis, and the second number is called the ordinate or the y-coordinate, that is the point representing on the y-axis. So the point of intersection of the two axes has coordinates 0, 0, called the origin. That is the point where these two vertical lines intersect at their respective zeros, has the coordinates 0, 0, called the origin. And the axes divide the coordinate plane into quadrants, into 4 quadrants. Okay, now let's do some exercises to see what do we mean by a Cartesian plane. If we are given a point, how we can represent this point on our coordinate plane. Okay, here we have our coordinate plane with this common point or the intersecting point as origin. Definitely arrows on both sides. Now this is x-axis, this is y-axis. Okay, first we will see that what do we mean by the quadrants. On the right side of x-axis we have values positive, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the left side of x-axis, that is on this real number line, on the left side we have values negative, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Similarly, we have said that y-axis is also a real number line, so upwards we have positive values, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and downwards we have negative values, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and so on. Okay, now the extreme right one is our first quadrant, that is when x is positive and our y is positive, that is when both values are positive. Okay, now moving in the counterclockwise direction, the left one, upper left one, is our second quadrant, that is when x is negative and when y is positive. Okay, now coming downwards, the left down one is our third quadrant, that is when x is negative and y is also negative. So right one on the down. Okay, here we have x positive and y negative. So in this way we have divided our coordinate plane in 4 quadrants. The first quadrant when both x and y are positive, second quadrant when x is negative and y is positive, third quadrant when both are negative, and fourth quadrant when x is positive and y is negative. Okay, now this will help us to locate our different points. First we have a point 2, 3. 2 represents the value of the point on the x-axis, that is 2, and 3 represents ordinate, that is value on the y-axis. Both are positive, so we have this point P1. Okay, so this is our point P1. Second is when x is 3, that is positive, and y is -4, means negative. So we are in the fourth quadrant. So this is our point P2. Okay. Third is -1, means x is negative. Okay, here. And y is 2, positive. So we are in the second quadrant. The point lies in the second quadrant. Okay. Fourth is -3, means x is negative, and -1, y is also negative. So the point lies in the third quadrant, that is this point P4. Okay. Now fifth point is somewhat interesting, that is x is 0 and y is 4. X is 0 and y is 4. So positive. So this is basically P5 when x is 0 and y is 4. Okay. Now we have 6 as when x is 5, positive, okay, and y is 0. Y 0 means here. So this is our point P6. Okay. 7th point when x is -2, negative, and y is 0. That is P7. 8th point when x is 0 and y is negative, -2, that is this point P8. Okay. We want to see that our first 4 points 2, 3, 3 -4, -1, 2, and -3, -1, they lie in the quadrants first, second, third, and fourth quadrant. And our last 4 points lie on our axis, on the positive side or on the negative side. So if we are given a point in our coordinate plane, we can locate a point easily by knowing the values of x and y. If both are positive, the point will lie in the first quadrant. If x is negative, then point will lie in the second quadrant. If both are negative, the point will lie in the third quadrant. And if y is negative, the point will lie in the fourth quadrant. Okay. Now we want to find the midpoint formula. What do we mean by the midpoint formula? That is, we have a line segment PQ joining the points P and Q, where P and Q have coordinates x1, y1 and x2, y2. That is, we have a point P with coordinates x1, y1. This is our x-axis and this is our y-axis. Okay. And Q with coordinates x2, y2. That is, this is point x1 on x-axis and this is point y1 on y-axis. So similarly, this is point x2 on x-axis and This is point y2 on y-axis. And PQ is the line segment joining these points P and Q. That is, we have this line. And we want to find the midpoint of this line PQ. Okay. So midpoint M must locate somewhere here in between the line PQ. So how we can find the midpoint of this line segment having coordinates x1, y1 and x2, y2? So let's say the midpoint has coordinates x and y. That is that this is some point x and this is some point y. So very simple, that the x will have coordinates x1 plus x2 by 2 and y will have coordinates y1 plus y2 by 2. That is, we will add both the x coordinates of P and Q divided by 2, and similarly for y we will add both the y coordinates of P and Q divided by 2. So M will have coordinates x and y, where x is equals to x1 plus x2 divided by 2 and y is equals to y1 plus y2 divided by 2. Okay, let's have a look at some examples. We want to find the midpoint M of a line segment connecting two points having coordinates x1 and y1 and x2, y2 respectively. Then the coordinate x of midpoint will be equals to x1 plus x2 over 2 and the coordinate of y will be equals to y1 plus y2 over 2. Suppose we have 2 points, P is equals to -2, 6 and Q is equals to 1, -9, and we want to find the midpoint of a line joining the points P and Q. Then according to formula, the midpoint will have coordinates x and y, which will be equals to x1 is -2 and x2 is 1 divided by 2 and y1 is 6 and y2 is -9 divided by 2, which is equals to, after simplifying, -1 by 2 and -3 by 2. That is, if we want to see, x is -2 and y is 6, so this is our point P. X is 1 and y is -9, so let's say this is our point Q. So the line segment joining these 2 points P and Q, and our M is -1 by 2 and -3 by 2. So somewhere here is our midpoint of the line segment joining the points P and Q having these coordinates respectively. Okay, let's have a look at another example. When we have one point having coordinates -3, 4 and second point having coordinates 5 and 0, call it as N, otherwise we will mix up with the midpoint M. So the midpoint in this case will be equals to x, y, which is equals to -3 plus 5 divided by 2, and same process with the y coordinates, that is 4 plus 0 divided by 2, which is equals to 1 and 2. So the midpoint of the line segment joining the points L and N has coordinates 1 and 2. Okay, now we were given with 2 points and we have found the midpoint of the line segment joining the 2 points. Now if we are given with 2 points, we want to find the distance between these 2 points, which is very useful. If we are given 2 points A and B in the Cartesian plane with the coordinates A is equals to x1, y1 and B is equals to x2, y2 respectively, and we want to find the distance between these 2 points A and B, that is, let's say this is our point A with coordinates x1, y1, and let's say this is our point B with coordinates x2, y2, okay, with coordinates x2, y2, and this is the point y2. Okay, we want to find the distance between these 2 points A and B. So for this we will use the concept of Pythagorean theorem, that is, basically we want to find the length of the line joining the points A and B. So with the help of Pythagorean theorem, here we have our right angle triangle. What does the Pythagorean theorem says? That the square root of the sum of the square of the base and perpendicular is equals to the length of the third side, or a square plus b square is equals to c square, where a and b are the lengths of base and perpendicular and c is the length of hypotenuse. So here if we look at our Pythagorean theorem and this diagram, then what is the length of the base? Length of the base is x2 minus x1, that is x2 minus x1 with absolute, because x and y can be negative. For the simplicity we have assumed that A and B both lie in the first quadrant, but they may lie in any quadrant, so we will take the absolute value. Okay, so what is B here? What is the perpendicular here? Perpendicular is the height y2 minus height y1, that is absolute of y2 minus y1. And now we will use our Pythagorean theorem, that is, we want to find the length of the line segment joining points A and B. So basically we want to find the length of the hypotenuse. So according to the formula, what do we obtain? AB is the length of the line segment joining the points A and B will be equals to x2 minus x1 square, the square of base, plus the square of perpendicular, which was y2 minus y1, and under root, which is equals to the length of our line segment AB. Let's have a look at it again. We are given with 2 points A and B in the Cartesian plane with coordinates x1, y1 and x2, y2 respectively, and we want to find the distance between these 2 points, that is, we want to find the length of the line joining the points A and B. So we will use our Pythagoras theorem. Here we have a right angle triangle, so the length of the base is absolute of x2 minus x1 and length of height is absolute of y2 minus y1. Now putting these two values in our formula, we obtain that the square of hypotenuse is equals to x2 minus x1 whole square plus y2 minus y1 whole square. Okay, let's have a look at some examples. We are given with 2 points A and B, where A is 4 minus 2 and B is minus 3, 6. There's no need to plot these points on a Cartesian plane. If you want to understand it more clearly, okay, then plot them. Otherwise we can put these values in the formula and we will get the length of the line segment joining the points A and B. So putting the values in our formula, what we obtain, length of the line segment joining the points A and B, where A has coordinates 4, -2, B has coordinates -3, 6, will be equals to x2 minus x1, that is -3 minus 4 whole square, plus y2 minus y1 whole square under root, which is equals to -7 whole square plus 8 whole square under root, which is 49 plus 64 under root, which is equals to 113 under root. Okay, let's have a look at another example. This one seems interesting. We have A having coordinates 4 and 6. So if this is 4 units and this is 6 units somewhere here, B has coordinates 0, 0. So point B is the origin in this case, and we want to find the length of the line segment joining the points A and B. Very simple. The length of the line segment will be equals to 4 minus 0, because we are taking a square and it is the distance in absolute, so either we calculate 4 minus 0 whole square or 0 minus 4 whole square, it's the same, plus 6 minus 0 whole square for y2 under root, which is equals to 4 square plus 6 square under root, which is 16 plus 36 under root, which is equals to 52 under root. So we can calculate the distance between any two points, no matter wherever the point lies, in any quadrant or even at the origin, as we have seen in our second example. Okay, so let us revise quickly what we have studied in today's lecture. In today's lecture, we have studied the absolute values, definition, what do we mean by the geometrical representation of an absolute value. Okay, then some properties. We have studied 6 properties of absolute values with some examples. Okay, then we have solved the equations with absolute values. If you have an equation with an absolute value, how we can solve it, what do we mean by the solution of that equation. In this case, the solution are only the points satisfying the equation. And also we have studied how we can solve an inequality with an absolute value. In this case, we have seen that the solution is not a point as compared to the equation case, but an interval. An interval can be of any form depending on the inequality. That is, if the inequality is strict, the solution or the interval of the inequality will be open. If the inequality is non-strict, the solution will be closed, or maybe half open, half closed, or the union of two half open intervals. Okay, then we have studied our rectangular coordinate system. In rectangular coordinate system, we have studied what do we mean by a Cartesian plane or a coordinate plane. Then the axis, x-axis and y-axis, in particular the coordinate axis. What do we mean by an ordered pair? The quadrants, we have seen the 4 quadrants and their direction, which is counterclockwise, the midpoint formula and the distance formula. That is, if we are given any 2 points, then the line segment joining the 2 points with the help of midpoint formula, and the length of the line segment between the 2 points with the help of distance formula. So with this we end our chapter 1, and there are few practice exercises which are mentioned here. Next time we will study chapter 2, that is about linear equations. In linear equations, we will see the characteristics of linear equations in one variable, in n variables, or particularly in more than one variable, and their geometrical representation with some examples. With this we end our today's lecture. Allah Hafiz, students.